She broke up with me, but insisted we'd still be friends. I responded, of course. Weeks later, she realized that friendship didn't cover rent, emotional support, or fixing her car, especially after I started seeing her roommate. The conclusion of our 2-year relationship happened on a Tuesday evening. It wasn't loud or filled with tears. It was calm, patronizing, and ended with the most hurtful phrase, "We'll always be friends." My ex, Amber, had been distant for weeks. She claimed to be an artist, which mostly meant she worked part-time at a cafe, spent her free time talking about the book she planned to write, and looked down on people like me who had real jobs. I owned a small business restoring classic cars, and worked with my hands. To her and her pretentious artist friends, that made me basic, dependable but basic, like a sturdy piece of furniture you keep in the living room, without thinking about it. That evening, she set me down on the couch in our apartment, where my income covered roughly 80% of the bills, and delivered her speech. It was clear she had rehearsed it, vague talk about needing to nurture her creative spirit, and feeling trapped in our relationship. The underlying message was unmistakable. I, with my grease-stained hands and practical thinking, wasn't thrilling enough for her grand artistic ambitions. I didn't argue or try to change her mind. I'm a mechanic. When something's broken, you don't reason with it. You either fix it or let it go. This relationship was beyond repair, so I listened as she outlined her exit from my life. Then came the final condescending remark. She touched my knee, her face a mix of pity and self-importance. "We'll always be friends, right?" she said, as if conferring a great honor upon me. She expected gratitude, and hoped I'd agree, to stay in her orbit as a reliable friend, always there to fix her car, or help with bills, but without the messy expectations of a real relationship. In that moment, something shifted in me. The hurt and disappointment were replaced by a cold clarity. She wasn't breaking up with a partner. She was redefining an asset. I looked at her composed, sincere face, and gave a slow smile. "Absolutely," I replied. Her relief was evident. She believed she had found her freedom, while keeping me as her safety net. She had no idea that my view of friendship was about to teach her a harsh lesson. "Oh, good," she said, her smile genuine. "I'm glad you're being so mature about this." "Of course," I said, standing up. "That's what friends are for. So, as your new friend, let me give you some advice. You should find a roommate to cover my share of the rent, because I'll be moving out this weekend. My friendship is free, but my part of the bills isn't." Her smile didn't just fade, it shattered. "What? You're moving out? You can't. Where will I go?" "I'm not sure," I said, heading to the bedroom to pack. "But I'm sure a resourceful artist like you will figure it out. Friends believe in each other, right?" Update 1. The idea of me actually leaving was something Amber couldn't grasp. For the next hour, she followed me around as I gathered my things, her arguments escalating from confusion to panic to outright anger. "You can't just leave me here," she said as I pulled my clothes from the shared closet. "The lease is in both our names. You're legally responsible." "You're right," I replied, keeping my pace. "We are both responsible, which is why I'll pay my half until the end of this month. That gives you about 3.5 weeks to find a new roommate to take over my spot. Or we can break the lease together, which comes with a $2,000 penalty we'd split. I'm fine with either option. It's your choice." The mention of a $1,000 penalty sent fresh panic across her face. Her part-time job provided just enough for coffee and art supplies. "I handle the actual living expenses. I can't afford that. I can't find a roommate in 3 weeks. You have to stay, Jake. At least until the lease is up in 6 months. It's the decent thing to do. We're friends, remember. Friends don't force each other to live in a tense environment," I said, pausing to look at her. "That would be unhealthy. As your friend, I'm giving you the space you need to find yourself. And I'm taking my space too." Just then, our third roommate, Maya, came home. Maya was a veterinary technician, who rented the small second bedroom. She typically stayed out of Amber's constant drama. She walked in, saw my open suitcase and Amber's tear-streaked, furious face, and sighed. "Don't tell me," she said, looking weary. "Her car broke down again?" "Worse," Amber wailed, seeking support. "He's leaving me. He's moving out." Maya looked at me over Amber's head, and I shrugged tiredly. "We broke up. I'm getting my things. I'm paid up through the end of the month. After that, you'll have a new roommate." Maya nodded slowly, then went to her room and closed the door, a pro at non-engagement. Amber, without an ally, spent the weekend employing every manipulation tactic she could think of. She cried, reminisced about our first date, and called me a heartless monster. I didn't take the bait. I kept packing. My responses came through the new lens of our friendship. "You're really just going to throw away 2 years of memories," she cried. "As your friend, I think it's important to focus on the future, not the past," I replied calmly. The first real test of our new relationship came the following week. I had moved my things into a temporary apartment, and was setting up my new life when I received a call from her on a Tuesday night. "Jake, thank God you answered," she said, her voice frantic. "The power just went out, and the internet is down. You have to come over and fix it. Did you check the breaker box?" I asked. "What's that?" "I don't know anything about that. You always handled it. The breaker box is in the utility closet in the hallway," I explained patiently. "It's probably just a tripped switch. You need to find the one that's out of line, and flip it back." "I'm not doing that. It's dark, and I'm scared. What if I get electrocuted? You need to come over, please, Jake, as my friend." There it was, the friendship card. I took a deep breath. Amber, as your friend, I'm concerned for your safety, but I'm 2 towns away. It would take me an hour to get there. The fastest solution is for you to call the emergency maintenance number for the apartment. They're available 24/7. Their number is on the fridge. There was a moment of silence. She was so used to me being her personal handyman that using a normal solution hadn't occurred to her. But they'll charge for that, won't they? She asked, her voice small. They might, I said. But as your friend, I think your safety is worth it, don't you? You got this. Let me know how it goes. I hung up before she could argue. The calls and texts kept coming. A few days later, she called about her car making a strange noise. I suggested she take it to a mechanic. When she complained about the cost, I advised her to start saving for repairs. Every issue she faced, which I would have solved without a second thought, was now met with calm, friendly, but ultimately unhelpful advice. I was her friend, and friends don't solve each other's problems, they offer support. Update 2. For the next month, Amber's life slowly fell apart, and I had a front row seat thanks to my new friendship with Maya. After I moved out, Maya and I started texting. It began as a sort of intel exchange, with her warning me about Amber's meltdowns, while I offered my sympathies. I learned Amber's search for a roommate was a mess. She wasn't looking for someone to split rent, she wanted a replacement for me. Her roommate ad was a list of demands: clean, quiet, financially stable, and willing to help with chores. Unsurprisingly, she had no applicants. One evening, Maya texted, sounding stressed. Her dog, Buster, was sick and wouldn't eat. She was panicking. Amber is out with some new guy from a poetry reading, she texted. I don't know who else to call. I'll be right there, I replied. I drove her and Buster to the clinic. We spent 4 hours in the waiting room, talking about everything and nothing. She shared her pressures from law school, and I talked about restoring classic cars. We realized we had the same sarcastic humor and approach to life. By the time the vet came out and told us Buster would be fine, he'd just eaten a sock, something had shifted. I started finding reasons to see her more. I offered to help with her car, a dilapidated sedan worse than Amber's. I spent a Saturday afternoon changing her oil and spark plugs, asking for nothing in return. I did it because I wanted to and liked her. We started dating quietly at first. It was easy and fun, no drama. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. We kept it under wraps, knowing if Amber found out, it would lead to a storm. The inevitable confrontation happened about 2 months after my breakup with Amber. She had finally found a new roommate, a desperate grad student. I went to the apartment to sign papers to remove my name from the lease. Maya had just finished her last exam, so she came with me to celebrate afterward. The living room was tense. The building manager and the new roommate were there, and Amber was overly cheerful, loudly talking about her new chapter. As I signed the final document releasing me from future responsibilities, Maya squeezed my hand, a small gesture to me, but a declaration of war to Amber. Her eyes darted between us, and her fake smile froze, then cracked. It was like watching a dam break. The color drained from her face, and her eyes filled with venomous betrayal. She had lost her boyfriend, her financial support, her handyman, and her emotional punching bag, and now she was watching me be replaced by the quiet roommate she had never even bothered to know. She didn't scream or cry, she just stared at our hands. In that moment, I think she finally understood the true cost of her friendship. Final update. It's been over a year since I left that apartment for the last time. My life and Amber's have continued on separate paths. After the lease incident, Amber's life unraveled. Her new roommate lasted only 6 weeks, moving out in the night, with a note saying he'd prefer living in his car to staying there. Unable to afford the rent alone, Amber was evicted. Last I heard, she had moved back in with her parents in a small town 3 hours away. Her artistic life in the city was over, and her journey of self-discovery led her back to her childhood bedroom. Her attempts to smear my name and Maya's failed miserably. She had turned too many people against her. Everyone knew she was the one who ended our relationship, and her narrative as the betrayed victim fell flat. As for me, my life has never been better. Maya and I now live together in a small house I bought on the other side of town, with a yard for Buster and a garage for my projects. She passed the bar exam and is now a junior associate at a downtown law firm. We're a team, a true partnership. We share the bills, chores, and support each other's dreams without any resentment. It's the easiest, most natural relationship I've ever had. My revenge wasn't a grand plan. It was simply a quiet refusal to play her game. She wanted to be friends? Fine. I became the best friend she could have, offering endless advice, but no real help. I upheld the boundaries she set, and let her face the consequences of her choices. I stepped out of the role of her provider, and her life, built on that foundation, collapsed. Then I created a better life with a better woman right under her nose. That, I found, is the most fulfilling kind of friendship.